Mr. Paul Polman, you are the CEO of Unilever and the Chairman of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. You have also been awarded the Légion d'honneur for the role you played to protect the environment. And last year, your company won the Earth Champions Award. Congratulations. What do you think is the role of business leadership and partnership to accelerate the global action agenda? The floor is yours.
Thanks, Nasha, and obviously thanks to Hakima and Laurence for your leadership and presence and giving the support, because it means a lot for the people that are here, and we know how busy your schedules are. I also like the themes in Morocco. You know, Hakima is an incredible host, and any meeting I go through has a Moroccan theme. And you might wonder what the theme is in this building today, but I think we're trying to emulate the Moroccan hammam and getting used to the temperature. So thank you for doing that. Anyway, welcome to the World Business Council for Sustainable Development part of this, if you want to, and I want to thank you and welcome you on behalf of the World Business Council. Also, thank you for your efforts to bring us to this point. I don't think anybody envisioned that we could have a meeting at this point in time, and many people that you see here on the podium, Jeff included, and many others, have worked hard to get to this point, and I think we can be very grateful where we are. Business definitely stepped up during the COP21. I think it played an enormous part in de-risking the political process. Absolutely not easy to be a politician, but having the strong presence and the endorsement, by the way, of the French government at that time, having the strong presence of the business community there, I do believe that it actually made a difference to all the heads of state to raise their ambitions at the same time. The Paris Agreement, without any doubt, is your collective success, and you are right to celebrate this. Since then, we've moved rapidly to implementation, and that is what the next 3 days are about. It is about getting things done, as you've heard. It is about overcoming obstacles. It is about creating value. And never ever have we been in a position like today on the opportunities to create value at a moment that the world needs it more than ever. We as business people should understand very well that reputations are not made by what we say, but that they are made by what we do. And the world will be watching if companies that make these commitments are actually implementing them as well. But we need to be realistic. Nobody said it would be easy. New science suggests already that the trajectory of warming is going a little bit faster than previously thought. Every year we seem to hit another record year in terms of global warming. UNEP's emission gap is now talking on an emission gap of 14 to 16 gigatons that we need to close by 2030 to stay below the 1.5 or 2 degrees for sure. And as Laurence clearly said, time is running out. We need to step up the pace. There is absolutely no room for complacency. Business action has to start now, and I'm glad to see that many of you have risen to that challenge and coming up with concrete plans to ensure that we have the peak emissions by 2020, 2022. In this complex environment, it is undoubtedly the only solution is to work closely together, business, civil society and governments hand in hand on this common objective. In fact, I remember in September I was at the UN, and in one of the panels was Desmond Tutu, and he was being asked, are you an optimist or a pessimist? And I think his answer was very clear and how do you call it, mindful, because he said, optimist, pessimist. I said the best way to describe myself is I'm a prisoner of hope. And I think that is where we are, more or less. We are all prisoners of hope. Now, the business response to Paris was enormous. Laurence has already alluded to that. When Paris sent a clear signal that we were going to decarbonize the global economy, you saw actually business going into overdrive. We have now 1,250 companies that have a price on carbon, many on the science-based targets. 5,000 commitments were made on the NASCA side by many companies, increasingly science-based commitments. The World Business Council's low-carbon technology partnership, obviously, is giving concrete solutions to address these challenges. We now have 170 companies with the World Business Council, 70 other partners that have come in the different segments, from chemicals to buildings to forestry, if you want to climate smart agriculture, to transport, and the list goes on. Together, over 100 public commitments, concrete commitments that could address about 65% of the gap that we are dealing with. And not only that, unlock investments and economic opportunities of 10 to 20 trillion, creating jobs, easily 50 million. Over 1,500 businesses and representatives have contributed to shaping these solutions that Peter and his team will be presenting over the coming days. They've done that through international dialogue in key markets, including many of the emerging markets, over the last 2 years. It's the beginning, actually, of a process of significantly broadening the base of leadership. We rejoice in the 1,500 companies. We rejoice in where the LCTPI is currently, but we will not solve the issue if we don't enroll significantly more businesses in these action plans. You all, we all, have an enormous responsibility to do that. One of the initiatives we've taken is to create the Commission for Business and Sustainable Development, tying it in increasingly with the SDGs, and having as an objective to reach 1,000 CEOs to amplify the actions that we need. So please go out there and enroll others into this journey. The most important thing of what we do, obviously, is not only the commitments we make, but as I said before, the accountability and transparency that comes with these commitments. The World Business Council, again, goes a step further. There are some other important enablers that need to be put in place to accelerate the projects, and one of them is redefining value. If we don't put a price on carbon, for example, we're not going to solve it. So next to financial capital, if you want to, we have to start reporting on both the natural and social capital. Other initiatives are, for example, from the B team, which is looking at climate competent boards. How can we ensure that boards and governance in the companies respond to the needs of discussing the climate-related risks in every business model? It sounds so logical, but it's obviously hard work to do. As Laurence was saying, the biggest impact, in my opinion, we not only get by doing what we should be doing in the first place. That's important. It earns us a seat at the table. But the bigger impact we get is if we work in the value chain. Many of these projects that get to scale come from working together in the value chain. I was very pleased to see here, under Hakima's leadership, the Adaptation for African Agriculture project, a typical example of going into the whole value chain to arrive at miracles. The same with the Global Agriculture Alliance that is starting. Land use obviously is very important. If you look at global emissions, deforestation, you're talking about 25% of the carbon impact. So we need to be sure that we get that high on the agenda of any of the NDCs in any of these countries. The finance sector is getting involved now also. They've understood the risks. Mike Carney's task force on the climate-related financial disclosure will step up the activities of many companies. I'm convinced about that. Companies that obviously have a firm belief that in doing so they will drive better business and higher return and benefit from the increasing market efficiencies that they're driving. Now, to really get scale next to the value chain work, I believe we need to actually even go a step further and bring transformational scale. Think systemic changes that we need to bring in. One of the examples of systemic changes, for example, is to push actively all across the world for pricing on carbon. In fact, 40 countries and 20 regional governments already currently, covering about 1.6 billion people, that's not a small amount, are already under one or another sort of emission trading system. Carbon pricing was actually represented in over 100 countries' NDCs, covering about 58% of the emissions. I believe when China now moves, as of 2017, 22% of the world's systems are on carbon pricing, and we must be close to a tipping point there. California did it smart because it shows how you can use carbon pricing to fund the infrastructure. Their 900 million, nearly 1 billion that they raised in their cap and trade systems, they actually spend that on high-speed rail or on intercity efficient transport networks. Infrastructure investments that will drive growth, create jobs, and support development. I was just talking to Jeffrey on the panel, the $1 trillion that the presidency, the new presidency, to be in the US has has decided to invest in American infrastructure is actually an enormous opportunity to ensure that it's done in a climate-smart way. The climate agenda is also simply a development agenda. The new climate economy report has shown the 90 trillion that needs to be invested in infrastructure to accommodate the urbanization, the growth in the world's population. How we are going to invest these 90 trillion over the next 15 years in infrastructure is simply going to decide how we are going to live, or if we are going to live, may I say so. Last but not least, and in closing, I want to thank again the World Business Council and Peter for its leadership, and all you that are present here. The Low-Emissions Solutions Conference this week is a chance to roll up our sleeves. We like that. To get to work, to establish where we can go faster. Finding opportunities to collaborate with governments, states and cities. Committing to accelerate the implementation of the commitments we all made in Paris. And to transform our economy. This is undoubtedly a sobering challenge for many of us, but one we absolutely have no choice to rise to. Thank you very much again for what you're doing.